Tonight is midsummer, or, well, technically last night was astronomical midsummer, but the ancient people did not have a perfect exact astronomical clock, and many of the Slavs observed midsummer on tonight or even tomorrow night. Midsummer was Christianized as a St. John's night, but traditionally it was Kupała. And on this, the shortest night of the year, the little night, and the longest day, this holiday commemorates the birthday of fire itself, and by extension the birthday of more or less creation. And for some Slavs, like the ones I hail from, the embodiment of the elemental fire is the god Svarog, and his son, literally Little Svarog, it would translate, I suppose, to Svarog Jr. He is the physical substance that you can actually look at burning on the fire. It might help to compare to water, just as water is literally the water drops in the rain, and the water in the river, the water in the puddles and streams. It's understood that there's a substance to water which permeates all of the earth itself, a substance which can permeate the atmosphere and is within all living things. And in a very similar sense, fire permeates many things in creation. So that is elemental fire. And there is also the literal physical fire, which you can see and touch and interact with, and this is the son of Svarog. There are other Slavic traditions which don't take the concept of elements so seriously, so they might roll these two up into a singular being. So midsummer commemorates the birthday of the elemental fire, but also when the fire was brought to reality. Basically the birthday of both grandfather elemental fire and father fire, who himself creates the soul of the individual fire which burns in your fireplace or on your candle. As we bend down and ignite a new fire, this fire is an individual soul who has never lived before, and when this fire goes out, they pass away. So we take part in the domain of our grandfather. Kupała is a St. John's night, and depending on region, St. John was Christianized as either the grandfather or father. Traditionally, the bonfires are lit during the day and then kept massive and stoked throughout the whole day. And around the fires, people would dance, celebrate, and sing songs. And as the day went on, usually the adults would keep tending to the fires, while the teenagers would sneak off and do what teenagers do when it's summer and they're celebrating and a little drunk. And the children would go into the forest playing games and looking for the magical fern flower. And as the anniversary of creation, midsummer teems with the energy of creation and life itself, so the water demonesses are quite active in the low and wet places. The forests are teeming with the wild ones. And young women would sneak down to the rivers and lakes and set sail the wreaths of their maidenhood to foretell their fortunes. Great power of fire is within the grandfather, and great power within the grandmother waters. But also these are reflected within the watery daughter Wada and the fiery son Wada. And in some regions these are taken to mean that these figures, the mother and father and the grandmother and grandfather, are the same figures. But it can also be seen just as the parents are stoking the fires and the young lovers sneak off into the forest. We can also view the reflecting great couples of midsummer as an intentional poetry. The next generation plays out like the generation before, and this continues forever in the chain of life. Regardless of what we make of the exact theology, Kupała is the night to set big fires and celebrate the vibrancy and life within everything, to appreciate and revel in how beautiful and full of life the world currently is. The most necessary and intrinsic thing to do today is simply to light a fire, sit beside it, and appreciate the beauty of life. Just for tonight, and I don't plan to make a habit of this, I would like to straight up just do a little vlog for the holiday. I don't know if there's necessarily that much to learn, I haven't prepared essays or anything, but I'd just like to talk and appreciate the beauty of the day. And maybe other people might enjoy that and might get something out of it. In the preparation of my midsummer fire, I've gathered a large variety of special flowers. Many of them are admittedly substitutes, since not all the same flowers grow in the United States as do in Poland. But over the generations, from my grandparents to my mother to me, we've found things which seem to work very well in the place of others. The specific goals I hope to accomplish with these specific flowers falls a bit further into the end of personal magic. It's very situational to what I want to accomplish with them, so I won't be going into detail about what I'm doing with them, but I would at least like to share the broad process. Going out into the field to gather flowers, I find the path to one of the flowers that I need has been laid out very helpfully by our local deer. You can see the low patch in the grasses, the little rut where the grass is pushed down, and as we follow it through the grasses, we come to this little bowl in the grass where everything is pushed down more than anywhere else. And this is where an animal has been sleeping. Going by the size, very likely the deer that live around here. Since our property is a very safe place for them, we don't actively hunt them. So they come around here and eat from the trees. And they have pointed the way to exactly what I needed. If you'll be lighting a fire for your midsummer this year, which is the number one thing I recommend to do to observe the day, then I most highly and critically demand that you do not use a fuel accelerant. You don't use gasoline or fire starter or any of those chemicals. Because the fire and the life of the fire, like a sacrificial offering, is consumed. Svarog and his son literally are consuming the substance in the fire. So if you were making food for an honored guest, you wouldn't use disgusting gasoline as an ingredient in the food. If you don't know how to make a fire from scratch, and if you don't, I don't blame you, it's very difficult to make a fire just from wood or stones, then I recommend lighting a candle. You can light it with a match, or with one of the small kerosene lighters, which don't use nearly as much fuel as, dumping fire starter on a fire. You can create the life of the little fire on the candle, and then feed that into the full fire. It's a way to kind of negate the use of the fuel starter that you might have to use for the candle. If there is one singular solitary thing that I want people to learn from my channel and my time on this internet, it is that you never, ever, ever need to use a chemical fire starter. In my previous video, the introductory video to polytheism, we cheated a little bit because it was very cold with the onset of winter, so we used a bit of cardboard and old cloth to help facilitate that fire. But today we're making a fire using only plants, and from only these we will grow a full fire that sustains itself. That's all you need. Even just beyond the religious importance of using a tasty substance for the fire for it to be consumed, I think that people are seriously undermining their own abilities and their own development of really useful skills by denying themselves the learning of how to create a fire. When you actually create a fire, even if you aren't able to make it from wood or stone yet, if you're starting with a match or a candle, the process of slowly, carefully feeding it the right substance after the right substance to nourish it and watch it grow, to feel its heat on your hands as you get intimately close with it, is a very, very special phenomena. You truly feel the soul and the life of the fire, and I don't want anybody to live without having experienced that, and I don't want anybody to deny themselves that. Another thing that I hope I can impart and contribute to this world is I hope that nobody watching this is genuinely afraid of fire, and I don't mean a raging wildfire. I mean just an ordinary fire like this. You do not need to feel afraid of a fire like this. You can get your hands close with it, you can interact with it, you can feed it directly. Like, you don't need to be super, super careful. I see some people who bend over backwards and go out of their way to avoid getting close to a fire as much as they can, and you don't need to do that. A fire will nibble you before it bites you. It is a living thing, and it will communicate what it needs from you. All you need to do is listen to it and respect it, like any other living thing. If you are too close or you are misbehaving, it will tell you that, and if you're listening, you will understand that before you actually get hurt. I think that this sort of aversion that people have from not understanding fire or believing it to be more dangerous than it really is might be part of why people mistreat fire with the chemical fire starters and all of the things that people do. I think that a lot of things about the way people are disconnected from nature nowadays, just the misunderstanding and the ignorance leads them to set out on the foot of disrespect. And the person setting out disrespecting nature will only cause nature to be encouraged to disrespect them. And it's a toxic cycle. So it's important to just be understanding in all things. It really does matter Seriously, if this is the second thing that you learn from this channel, I want you to learn that everything has a soul, and everything is filled with life, and the most important thing for you to do with that is to just be respectful and be aware. Don't take anything for granted. As the anniversary of the fire in both senses, midsummer is also the anniversary of life itself, and the originating point of all of us living things, all of us children of the divine. We are filled with life, rejuvenated by the rejuvenation of all things around us. It is important to feel the fullness of life while it still inhabits us. And as there are the ancestor days for remembering the lives which have passed on, which are important to us, this is the day for feeling our lives and appreciating the divine gift that our living phenomena is. As we make the big fires and sing the songs on this holiday, we feel the breath of life in our lungs, and we feel our blood in our veins. And our feeling of our own lives is a connection to the divine and a type of offering in and of itself. I will stress that yes, the fact that all living things have a soul also extends to the plants which this fire is consuming. Literally every sacrifice involves taking a life so that its flesh or its substance can be sacrificed. The truest actual difference for us isn't whether or not something was alive before it was sacrificed. It comes down to two main distinguishing factors. We do not sacrifice the animating soul, the soul that makes something filled with life. That's not what's being sacrificed. So the moment of death is not what's relevant or important with the sacrifice. It's the substance soul, the soul that makes something itself, not the soul of the breath, but the soul of the self, the individual. That is what is being consumed in these offerings. So, off the basis, it is totally unnecessary to take a life for a sacrifice, and it is better to just, whether it be an animal or a plant, to just take the life in the most humane and respectful way possible. The second distinguishing factor is this wasn't shared among all Slavs, but certainly for the Lekites. That's the Polabians and the Polans, eventually the Poles. It was strictly taboo to spill blood within the temple space of a deity or any other holy space like an altar. Spilling blood, disrespectfully letting blood spill all over, would cause the soul to be stained and trapped to the place where the blood was spilled. So if blood was spilled in a holy place, this was counterproductive to a good offering, because it would just cause the holy space to be infested first with ordinary ghosts and eventually with the demons who would be attracted to the misery. Whether you're burning and offering a plant, these trees, these flowers, or if you've made a cut of bread, as I have, or if you're sacrificing vodka and juice, as I am, or if you might be sacrificing a cut of meat, it's critically important to respect the life that has been taken, especially on this holiday, which is celebrating life itself, and to give it an ethical death, away from the ritual space, and then clean it and prepare it into a tasty food, and then bring that to the ritual space. Along these lines, for example, if you would like to bless something, either just to imbue it with a holy power, or if you feel it's been in a bad place and might need a bit of blessing, a beautiful and holy fire is the absolute ideal time and place to do so. You can say a prayer above or beside the fire, and then extend, for example, the necklaces into the breath of the fire. The breath is what you can literally feel exhale above the fire. You can see as it alters the shape of the air, it makes the waving illusions in the air. So you extend the thing that you would like to bless into the breath of the fire and ask it to bless it for you. If you would like to partake in midsummer yourself, I have very good news, because it's certainly not too late. Fires were generally lit toward the middle of the day to the afternoon, but the fires would be kept burning until late into the night. You really have until just before twilight of tomorrow. That would be around 3 in the morning this time of year. So even if you haven't started until the sun's already going down, or even if it's already gone down, you still have time to celebrate Kupała for a bit if you would like to. I will link in the description a bunch of different regional folk songs and a few modern compositions for the holiday, so that you can have some music to sing or dance to as you celebrate the holiday. As it is, I hope that you have a blessed and wonderful midsummer, that your year is going well, and that the remainder of your year also goes well. Glory to Svalrug, and have a beautiful night.